The Denver Nuggets are apparently not one of the favorites in the Western Conference. We're going to get into that on today's episode. Also, the Denver Nuggets are getting ready to take on the Boston Celtics tomorrow in Abu Dhabi, and I can't wait to tap into that. Yo, Ryan, Swiper, Locked On Nuggets. Y'all know what time it is. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. This is your co-host, Swiper, your team every day. Shout out to y'all. Thank y'all so much for being here with us today. We have a great show lined up for you. Y'all, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Y'all, this is my brother Ryan and I's debut episode as co-host on Locked On Nuggets. You've seen him already twice this week with Matt. When he joined the show, he specifically said he wanted to be with Matt more than he wanted to be with me. So that will be the layout for the rest of the show that we have. But Ryan, what's going on, brother?
Not much. I'm nodding my head for those that are listening along, but no, it's not true. We're gonna work out the schedule, folks. But I'm very excited to be here, and obviously very excited to be here with Swiper.
Yeah, yo, it's gonna be a great episode. Let's go ahead and tap into it. So now, y'all know how I like to get all the narrative stuff. I like to pay attention to everything before the season starts. I love it. You know, I want to know what people are saying. I want to know what they think. I want to know what's going through their mind. And so I just happened to check FanDuel, and I wanted to know who has the best odds to win the NBA Finals this year. And unsurprisingly, Boston Celtics, a plus 320 makes sense. They just won the title, went 16-3. They did even better than the Nuggets apparently in the playoffs last year. And then you had the OKC Thunder, all the hype around the Thunder, Ryan Blackburn, a plus 650. Hey, makes sense. Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso, SGA. Then you get the New York Knicks. I'm all right. Now we're getting in a little territory. I'm like, all right. Okay, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. Okay, Josh Hart. Okay, no Dante DiVincenzo. Okay, Julius Randle is addition by subtraction. I understand. Odds go up. Then you get to the Philadelphia 76ers, a plus 1,000.
Wow.
Haven't made it past the second round since, Ryan, were you born in 2002?
I may not have been, but no, I was in fact born by that point.
So then following that, in fifth place, you got the Minnesota Timberwolves again with Julius Randle as their second option. We're going to get to them in a little bit. And then you scroll all the way down to sixth. And here come the Denver Nuggets with a plus 1,100 odds. Third in the West, sixth in the NBA. Ryan Blackburn, speak some sense into me. Am I tripping?
It's not just third. They're tied for third with Dallas. And Dallas, I'm not surprised by that because, look, Dallas made the finals last year. They should get some credit for that, especially in the odds. I'm surprised that the T-Wolves are higher than Denver at this point because we just saw how the odds sort of shifted after the Knicks traded for Mikal Bridges, how they traded for Karl Anthony Towns. One of those teams lost Karl Anthony Towns, and it was the Minnesota Timberwolves who needed Karl Anthony Towns in that series against the Nuggets desperately to win a 7-game series. And that was a tough series. It looked like the T-Wolves were the better team overall, but now they traded one of their most important pieces and traded for somebody who averages 35% from the field in the playoffs, man. Like, I don't understand this. I think that a lot of teams sort of capitalizing on the hype here, and I think that Denver should be ranked higher than this.
Look, you know, I have a whiteboard here for our audio listeners, and I had on another show detailed, Ryan, a very specific offense that the Minnesota Timberwolves were running with Karl Anthony Towns. And if you are listening to the audio side, it's basically just an explanation of the flex offense, how it creates mismatches. And you probably remember this, Ryan Blackburn. when they would place Karl Anthony Towns right here in this left post, they would put KCP or Christian Brown over here, and they would run whoever their man was across the lane. They would clear out the left side, run them across the lane. It was either going to be a bucket for the guard, or it was going to be a switch, Karl Anthony Towns, ISO in the post. And Ryan, you remember what happened in that third quarter. That's game 7. They put Christian Brown and KCP on him to try to not to give up that easy bucket on the inside. Yo, bucket. I was like, oh, shots everywhere.
He was
shots
great.
everywhere. So I'm trying to figure out, you get Julius Randle in that spot, who's a worse scorer, worse post player, worse finisher, worse in the playoffs, and they're just still better. Now, I think that's them saying, okay, well, we believe in their defensive upside. I also think this too, Ryan. Dante DiVincenzo, Rob Dillingham, Terrence Shannon Jr. I think that's what they're saying. I think they're saying that they have elite depth. They added 3 brand new players plus Naz Reid and have Nikal Bridges coming off the bench as well. I think they just think they're just overall just a better team.
Nikal Bridges would be a crazy player, but it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker, of course. That would be sick. But no, I think that their depth is clearly better. There's no doubt about it. But the top level is what you need in order to win at the highest levels. And I was really impressed by Towns. I was not thinking that much of him going into that series, although I did pick the Nuggets in 7, and it was basically a coin flip at that point. And then I see Towns sort of play the way that he's played and understanding how that works. I just don't know how Julius Randle can replicate the sort of effort that he put out there on a consistent basis. Now, to be fair, Randle has been an all-star in New York multiple times. He's been an all-NBA player multiple times. He has grown in his career, is not the same level of player that he was before. I think he's a better player, but I just think of the way that, like you said, they blended some things together really nicely, and they're able to do that with Towns and with Ant and with Gobert because of the size and skill that Towns has. And Randle's just a little bit worse in each of those categories, and to me, it's a little shaky. Though I will say Dante DiVincenzo, he will help them, especially in those bench lineups when they're trying to stagger some starters. He'll space the floor. He can make 5 threes in a playoff game and win you a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely believe in that. You know, a lot of people are bringing up the POA defense. You know, I had this conversation on Player's Choice that, like, it's another defender to throw at Jamal. But, Ryan, I'm actually not as concerned with Jamal versus high-level defense. If Jamal's healthy, Ryan, I just haven't seen that be a deterrent enough for him that even if he's inefficient in that game, it's just his pure gravity. And when he's getting open shots, he's hitting those. That was really the issue in the Wolves series, is that he just wasn't hitting open shots even as well as he should. I do think having Dante, Nikal, and Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, they're going to make him work. But I think right now, Ryan, my overall sentiment since May, the end of Game 7, is the entire NBA as a whole has just grossly overstepped with the loss of KTP, with a shooting variance loss in Game 7 where no player outside of Jokic and Murray scored over 10 points. And I think everybody is just, they were so elated with Denver and last March saying, oh, they're unstoppable. They're going to be a dynasty. They just beat the Celtics in back-to-back games. And then they lost. I think people are overreacting. And I think it's so strong. I'm not going to lie to you, Ryan. I'm not even like with the Thunder. I'm not even really like that matchup is going to be tough for sure. But I just also think even in that matchup, like there are advantages that the Nuggets are going to be able to create even versus them. And I think ultimately, like if you're telling me everybody in the team is healthy and it's full health versus full health, I mean, I just think people are just saying like, look, we just don't think they're good enough to even be in the contenders list, like the elite contenders list in the league.
They are kind of on the back end of that. I think part of this, especially the odds, you see Philly at plus 1,000. You see the Wolves at plus 1,000. You see the Knicks at plus 750. Some of that is hype. Some of that is the expectation and the new faces and new places. That's what you're going to get in these situations. And I think the burden of proof is on the Nuggets. It's on the Nuggets to show everybody again that last year was a fluke. The injuries were a thing. And you're going to come back out and you're going to play great. I think that they're absolutely capable of it just as you do. But I do know that everybody's kind of down on them, and it is on them to sort of change the narrative there.
Y'all, on the other side, the Denver Nuggets can't really play a basketball game. And it's been months. We've been starving, fiending, hoping for Denver Nuggets basketball. And y'all, they're playing not just versus anybody, versus the Boston Celtics. We got to talk about that matchup, what to look for, and really how is this game going to be a nice marker of expectations for the rest of the season. We're going to talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. Y'all, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page when you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. We'll be back for more here on Locked On Nuggets. We are back here for segment 2 on Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swiper, with your boy, Ryan. We are here, Locked On Nuggets, every single day of the week. Y'all, if you're listening to this on the audio side and Apple iTunes, give us a 5-star review. That way more and more people can listen to the great content being made here in Locked On Nuggets. If you're on the YouTube side, y'all, I want to see if we can get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of this next season. Give us a like, give us a share, and give us an absolute review in the comment section of who has the best hair on Locked On Nuggets, because I will not win that. Y'all.
I don't think Matt's winning it either.
Y'all, the Denver Nuggets are playing versus the Boston Celtics. And Ryan, please take it from here. What are you looking for in tomorrow's matchup versus the Boston Celtics?
The number one thing I'm looking at is Christian Braun. I want to see what this looks like. I'm really excited to see what it looks like. He's had the stamp of approval from a number of players, from Calvin Booth back in the offseason, from Michael Malone and just what he's doing. I think that there is an absolutely great chance that Christian Braun just comes out and looks like a starter. He looks like a contributor, looks like a player. And this is sort of a trial by fire situation, right? Like Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, that is a great perimeter quartet. And Christian is capable of matching up with any of those guys. Whether he's going to be able to score, I think is a fair question. Whether he's going to be able to actually stop them is a fair question. And how he sort of affects the game flow, whether that looks the same as KCP or if it's a little different, I'm just very curious as to how that plays out and what it actually looks like.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Dejan, I'm telling y'all, 2025, there's some just know. There's definitely some stuff on the board, and it ain't just gonna be me. So we'll have that discussion. We need to have it about Serbia. But y'all, look, I want to see Christian Braun. I want to see the rest of the team. I definitely want to see how they're vibing, how they're gelling. But y'all, I'm ready to watch Russell Westbrook. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was already on board. I was already locked in. I already said last year, Ryan, you remember I said I think Russ should be on this team now. I think he would have been a better replacement for than Reggie Jackson was. I think that he is a good facsimile for what Bruce Brown was. I said this a year ago. So if anything, this is just the world and Calvin Booth and them catching up. Look, if you're telling me that Russ is going to get in the game, run 100 miles an hour, play defense, get to the rim, pass the ball out, and then hit an occasional three-pointer. If Russ made 32% of his threes this year, 33, I'll be happy. I'll be happy. That's good. That's good enough. That's good enough. If Russ is able to create advantages for Julian Strawther, Michael Porter Jr., Peyton Watson, Jamal Murray, Dario Saric, and then with the starters with Jokic, then he's doing his job. And I also think if Russ is able to lock in enough defensively where he's able to get switched out on the players, top of the second quarter, top of the fourth quarter, and he's able to put a competent effort in defensively. And we also talked about this too, Ryan. It's something I mentioned to you. Reggie Jackson was really banged up last year.
Yeah.
And you could tell because he would get hit sometimes and he would stay on the floor and he would labor up and down the court. Russ is just not that kind of player. Like, he's going to give you 100% effort all the time. And I'm really, really just excited to see how he is able to help this overall roster. And I also think too, Russ has even talked about this. I think Russ is going to be given the keys to be Russell. Like, go play fast. Go play hard, speed us up, play defense, play, make, and pass. I think all of that together, plus the team's hunger, they feel hungry given how last year ended. I think that Russ tomorrow can show this is why he's going to be a good addition to this team.
I'm curious to see how it goes. I want to push back on one thing a little bit. You wanted to say, let Russ be Russ. Let Russ continue to do what he's doing, play fast. I don't know if the Nuggets have the personnel right now to play fast with him out there. Peyton Watson's going to be out. You've got Dario Saric, DeAndre Jordan, Vlatko Čančar coming off a torn ACL, Hunter Tyson. Like, these are the guys who are going to be in the front court with him. And you're going to have Julian Strawther. Like, he'll be out there. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think that Denver's going to stagger that much, especially out of the gate. I think they're probably going to go all starters, all bench, and let that be that. And so you don't want Russ to be outrunning. And I made this comparison on Pickaxe last night. You don't want him outrunning his blocking, like outrunning his blockers on the, like, for a football analogy there. Like, you want to make sure that he's using everybody effectively, making sure that guys are getting into the right positions for him to take advantage of that. There will be times where, hey, you want him to go 1-on-1, 1-on-2, 1-on-3, but I think those are fewer and far between, and you'd rather him set the table for some of these other guys in a half-court situation at times. Now, when Peyton Watson gets back, I agree with you. I absolutely agree. They should be trying to get out and run, but if he's not out there with Michael Porter, if he's not out there with Christian Brown, if he's not out there with Peyton Watson, there's just not a lot of runners left.
You don't think Vlatko, first off, Vlatko's healthy. And
he is healthy, but it's still going to be an adjustment, I think.
Yeah, but I think I don't think that if you're playing Vlatko, period, that's a part of what he does is his athleticism. Yeah. It's the fact that he is a vertical athlete. Otherwise, there's no point playing him. You could just put, Hunter Tyson out there. So I think some of this is, look, maybe you don't see it tomorrow because Peyton's not there. But at the end of the day, Ryan, I just also don't even get with that because Jamal has to play faster. Everyone has to play faster. That is a thing that's been hampering the team. They're going to have to speed up, especially just getting into their offense. That's also a part of it. It's not just in the transition, but when you get in a half-court setting, like, can we just make sure we're crossing the court with 20 seconds left, 18 seconds left, as opposed to 14, or as opposed to 16, like just getting into your offense quicker. And I personally think that whoever's out there with him, they're going to have to adjust their game to Russ a little bit too, because I also think some of this is simple as adjusting the bench to Russ as well. It's going to be advantageous, I think, for them because the thing about the Nuggets bench, they have typically been a defensive-minded group with how they play. They're focused on getting stops and limiting possessions. So by nature of getting stops and limiting possessions, you're getting more opportunities to run. So I think with Russ in that lineup, I just think they're going to have some opportunity to space out the court with three-point shooting. I think getting directly to the basket and finishing or getting into an immediate action with some DHOs with Dario Saric, getting downhill, popping out for threes with Saric or with Strawther or Hunter Tyson. So, yes, tomorrow might be a little bit more of a deal with no Peyton Watson. But, we'll talk about this in the third segment as well. But I do think that the Nuggets, when Russ was in the game, they're just going to have to play a little different style of basketball. But I also think they have the personnel to do that as well.
Matching up with the Celtics, too, is going to be fascinating, where obviously you've got a lot of great on-ball defenders, but maybe Russell Westbrook is matching up with Peyton Pritchard, and that's a little bit different, and it feels a little bit different for sure for him to be going at somebody like Peyton Pritchard instead of Derek White or Drew Holiday. So there's definitely something to that. I would also make mention of the spacing that the Celtics are going to have on that end. How does Denver's defense hold up? Can Jokic get out of the perimeter?
Well, do you think that's more of a like how much are they going to deploy their like NBA Finals Celtic defense with like Jokic on Drew Holiday, or is that more so just like where they are in terms of like their conditioning and stuff right now?
Yeah, I'm more worried because Joker looks kind of big. There's something to be said for that. I think he looks a little bit bigger than you would expect for him to at this stage. If it's Kristaps Porzingis or Al Horford, those guys are picking and popping for three. If I were Nuggets fans, I would expect those guys to just get open for three a bunch and for Denver to be okay giving that up. This is going to be something where if Kristaps Porzingis makes 5 threes in the first half, I'm not going to be surprised. It's going to have to be an adjustment for sure, but the Celtics could run up the score They could absolutely be very good on the offensive end, and Denver could give up 70 to 75 points.
You've been at practice, Ryan Blackburn, Representative Mile High Sports and Locked On Nuggets credential media member.
Yes, sir.
Chartburn, as many call him, including Jamal Murray, Michael Malone. Where do you feel they are right now when you watch them at practice in terms of their overall conditioning and such?
Yeah, we haven't seen a whole heck of a lot. I won't overstate where I'm at. I do think that Jamal Murray has looked really good. I think that he's one of those guys that looks like he's in great shape and really gearing up for the season and is very quick and agile, as opposed to kind of especially when dealing with injuries last year, he looked bigger, he looked slower. He didn't move as well as he was doing in the past. But I think that there's something there. Mike looks like he's in great shape, although he does look a little slower at 235. And Christian just looks like he's in great shape, and Russ looks like he's in great shape. So I think that everybody's in pretty solid condition, making sure that they're doing pretty well. But it's just something where the Celtics, they have a bone to pick with the Nuggets. The Nuggets have beaten them multiple times, and I think that the Celtics have
3 straight times.
They want to get some revenge.
Well, on the other side, we're going to talk about this game a little bit more, but also I think this game is going to be a nice projection into the future. We'll talk about all that and more here at Locked On Nuggets. We are back for the final segment here at Locked On Nuggets. This is your host, Swiper, with the new co-host of Locked On Nuggets, Ryan Blackburn, aka Ryan Chartburn.
Thank you.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I think it might be the other way around, man. Ryan, I don't know. I think sometimes, Ryan, I've known you for years now, since I started Swipe all those many years ago in 2023. I think that you might be. I think the Nuggets are just a lot hungrier than people realize. I think even when I hear Jamal talk about this upcoming season, Aaron Gordon especially talk about this upcoming season, Jokic, fresh off maybe the most devastating loss of his NBA career or his basketball career, apparently, versus USA when they were up 20 points basically and then took an L because he couldn't hit a three-pointer.
Yeah,
this team just feels hungry. Malone knows that it's not his job on the line per se, but there's just some. Malone knows that this year means a lot for him personally. It just feels like the team is hopefully in a place to be out for blood this year. Do you think you can see any of that tomorrow at all?
It is a preseason game. Gotta remember that this is Abu Dhabi. This is not in the NBA right now. This is something where it's more of an exhibition than it is anything else. But I do think that once the game starts going, everybody's going to be very competitive. Everybody's going to be trying to make a point of the gains that they've made in the summer, of the things that they've done to add to their overall repertoire. I could see Jamal especially really looking to push that forward. I could see Mike really looking to push that forward. It wouldn't surprise me if Mike, when he's a little bit bigger, he wants to push some of those guys around, guys like Derek White, Drew Holiday, when he gets switched onto them, and really trying to finish over the top.
Drew Holiday?
No, and Drew's strong, man. He's big. He can.
I'm saying I thought you said MPJ would be able to push him around in a post. I'm like, maybe not Drew.
I mean, I think that he would certainly try. Whether one of the differences between him and a guy like Julius Randle is Julius Randle only has one direction that he can go, and I think Mike could probably go over the top of somebody like Drew Holiday for sure, given that he's 6'10". But I'm curious what it looks like. I wonder what who is going to be the most hungry in this situation. The Celtics, we just saw it with the Nuggets, man. They were not as hungry last year, I think, as they are this year. And perhaps the same thing can be said of the Celtics. Were
they not as hungry last year? Because they started off really well. They maintained a really good record for most of the year. Now, they did get to the 4th seed at one point in time, but then they kind of picked up their rhythm the last month and a half of the year. Do you expect that? I guess even looking forward, beyond this game, do you think that they're going to start fast this season?
That's a good question because they have so many things that they have to adjust to. I wonder if Peyton Watson doesn't play that much in the preseason because of this hamstring injury that he suffers. And that's going to screw with the chemistry a little bit because the team just needs to know who's going to be out there in some of those lineups. They believe that Peyton Watson's going to be a massive part of things. And I would tend to agree. But you need somebody out there like him with a very specific skill set to be able to develop chemistry with and understand where he's going to be on the floor, what he's going to be doing defensively, how he's going to move, things like that. So it just wouldn't surprise me if Denver, like after 10 games, was like 5-5, and people were like, "Yeah, this feels a little weird."
Ryan, the Matt Moore pessimist is just unbelievable. I don't even know the last time they were finished 5-5 through the first 10 games, but apparently that's going to happen this year. Ryan, this is their first 10: Oklahoma City, Clippers, Toronto, Brooklyn, Minnesota, Utah, Toronto, OKC, Miami, Dallas, New Orleans.
OKC,
That's a good schedule.
Miami, Dallas, New Orleans. I mean,
Yeah,
the latter end of that is kind of tough. And you might be surprised by a team like New Orleans, who is like New Orleans, for example.
I might be surprised.
I mean, okay,
by a team with no center.
Specifically, the Royal U Nuggets fans might be surprised at some of the quality that those teams display out of the break, because in October and November, you're going to be a different team than you are in December, January, February, where you kind of settle into who you are. So it wouldn't surprise me, man. Like, I think that Denver will be better. I think that there's than most of those teams. I think they'll probably still win about 52, 53 games. But I also have this feeling that trying to adjust to Russ and Dario Saric and Peyton Watson and like Julian Strawther and Christian Brown in the starting lineup.
What do you think? What's different about this than last year, do you think?
Well, a lot of those guys that they had on the roster already, like think about it. Peyton Watson was already there. He was a little new, obviously, but Reggie Jackson was there. Zeke Naji, DeAndre Jordan were in the front court. Christian Brown was still there. And you just kind of pieced it together a little bit, figuring out exactly what they were looking for. And like they also had the same starting lineup that they relied upon heavily through those first 10 games. And then Jamal got hurt.
Do you think Misi's going to be any good for the Pelicans? He's obviously a rookie next to Zion start.
I don't know what the Pelicans are ultimately. I thought that they were going to trade for Jared Allen, man. Like that's what I was expecting, either him or Wendell Carter. I'm not sure what it's going to look like with them, but I think that they like playing fast, playing athletic, DeJounte Murray getting up and down the floor. Like I honestly think that they'll be really talented and really good. I just think that Ingram should probably be gone and Trey Murphy and Herb Jones should be in his place on the wing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Pelicans do this year. I think I'm almost on the other end with folks. I think Christian's going to work out fine because it's the regular season. I think it's more the playoffs that's going to be like the stuff to figure out. I think Julian, all that stuff is going to be, interesting. But again, like Ryan, if we get the first Jamal Murray nice start to a year, like where he's taking the swipe ass and plea 8 to 9 3-pointers a game. Right.
Did you just say the first nice Jamal Murray start of the year? So you're expecting
I'm talking about
No,
I'm talking about like what we all want. Not Jamal has started nice before. I'm talking about like Jamal's coming out, it's 23 and a half a game because he's taking again 3 more 3-pointers a game type thing. 23 and 6 or whatever. And then the team is like, oh, snap, Jamal's having like a nice start, Jokic is having a Jokic start, MPJ another, like again, Lord willing.
Back up to averaging 20 a game. Like there's reason 19, 20.
I
mean, he had 19, but I think he could average 20 in a season. I do.
Yeah.
So like I can see the vision, man.
By the way, remember Malone said he wanted to be a top 3 offense or top 2 defense. So what if their defense is like lights out to start?
Yeah. Hey, I mean, you're gonna need it if you're Denver. Like this is gonna have to be like they're gonna have to be very competitive. My overall question is just like, you can say things at media day, you can say things in practice until you actually prove it in those first 10 games. I'm going to be skeptical because I think that there's still some things that they need to work through as a group.
Cook up Ryan Blackburn. That's right. He's Ryan Blackburn, the famed Ryan Blackburn. He keeps you leveled headed. Whereas Swiper, it's just going to go like, I don't know. I'm looking at the details, looking at the information and the numbers is telling me one thing.
Somebody in the comments was like swipe and hype as opposed to swipe and gripe for our show name.
That is not what the show is so far. Ryan, what are your last 15-second thoughts, 30-second thoughts on tomorrow? What do you expect, win or loss?
I would expect loss initially, but I think it will be competitive. I think it will be a game where Denver starters and individuals play pretty well. And the most important thing that you want from this is health. And for Jokic and Murray, especially to look like Jokic and Murray. And I think those guys will do that.
Yeah, I think that the Nuggets win tomorrow. It's going to be a fun first half game. And then the starters don't play that much in the second half. And then it's just like, the who's who, Jalen Pickett and everybody else just kind of going at it. Nuggets pull it out. And then you'll have even more to talk about tomorrow. But y'all, this is Brian Blackburn and your boy Swiper. This is Locked On Nuggets. This is the new duo of Locked On Nuggets. We'll have a cool name at some other point. But y'all, make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. One of the best NBA shows you can find. See y'all on the other side.